Have you ever wondered what happens to credit cards after they expire? Or where all those hard plastic objects go once they break and disappear from our homes? The world produces more than 400 million tons of plastic every year, and only a small portion is recycled. It is as if every single minute, a full truckload of plastic was dumped into the environment. But what if I told you that in Indonesia, this waste is transformed into colorful toys that bring joy back to thousands of children? Today, we are going inside a massive factory to see how technology and creativity are changing the future of plastic, giving it a new life. For decades, the world treated plastic as something disposable. Expired cards, cracked packaging, and forgotten objects filled landfills and rivers, polluting the soil and the sea. But Indonesia found a different path. Instead of seeing a problem, engineers and local communities decided to see an opportunity. Inside factories that work like true transformation centers, tons of plastic are recovered and turned into recycled toys. These objects, born from discarded materials, carry a much greater value than most people realize. They represent innovation, circular economy, and hope. What once was trash now has a new purpose, and with every molded piece, the country proves that sustainability can also create happiness. If you enjoy learning how things are made, understanding how production works, and discovering inspiring stories inside real factories, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Every year, billions of credit cards expire and disappear from wallets, while tons of hard plastics such as phone cases, containers, and broken utensils follow the same path. Few people realize that these materials, made of PVC and polycarbonate, take centuries to decompose. In densely populated countries like Indonesia, the disposal of this waste has grown rapidly, becoming both an environmental and economic challenge. The country produces millions of tons of plastic each year, and a significant portion comes from materials considered too small to be worth recycling. For decades, these plastics were simply burned or buried in landfills, contributing to soil and air pollution. But the combination of technology and necessity changed everything. A factory in Indonesia developed a system capable of collecting and processing expired cards and various hard plastics in a single recycling line. The process begins long before the machines start running. It involves banks, companies, and local cooperatives that collect the materials and send them to sorting centers. There, the work is precise and careful. Each card and piece of plastic is visually and mechanically analyzed to separate different types of polymers and identify metallic components. Recycled PVC is separated from polycarbonate, while small electronic pieces, such as metal chips, are removed for reuse. The goal is to obtain a clean and uniform raw material ready for the next stage. This marks a new era for the recycling industry, combining sustainability, innovation, and circular economy. What was once discarded now enters an entirely new production cycle. In the right hands, plastic stops being a symbol of waste and becomes a symbol of opportunity. Those broken cards and forgotten objects that once seemed worthless are now the first step in an industrial transformation that goes far beyond recycling. It is proof that even the smallest fragments can lead to something greater. And this is where the second stage begins: the sorting and preparation of materials for large-scale recycling. The process begins in the streets, in businesses, and even in banks, where tons of expired cards and hard plastics are collected and sent to sorting centers across Indonesia. Trucks arrive loaded with materials that, not long ago, were treated as ordinary trash. Today, these centers are part of an organized system that keeps the circular economy alive. Each batch is weighed, registered, and directed to specific inspection areas, marking the beginning of a transformation that blends technology, precision, and human work. Inside the factories, the first step is to separate what can be recycled from what cannot. Conveyor belts carry piles of cards, rigid containers, and plastic caps toward machines that identify the type of material. Optical sensors and air jets perform the automatic sorting, while workers oversee the process to make sure nothing goes unnoticed. PVC, PET, and polycarbonate are separated into different sections because each type of plastic requires a specific treatment. This is a crucial step to ensure the purity of the raw material that will be used later. After the initial separation, refinement begins. Mixed materials are manually checked and pre-cleaned to remove adhesives, metal chips, and paint residues. The difference in density between plastics is used in water tanks with neutral solutions, where each type either floats or sinks according to its composition. This simple but effective method helps remove impurities and ensures that the recycling process maintains high quality. At the end of this phase, the clean and dry plastics are compacted into blocks and labeled according to their material type. These blocks become the starting point of the industrial transformation that follows. They represent the raw material ready to be shredded, melted, and molded into something completely new. From this point on, the path changes completely. What once was waste is now preparing to return to the world in a new form, beginning the next stage of the journey: shredding. Once the compacted blocks of plastic and cards reach the processing area, the entire scene changes. Huge containers pour the material into metal funnels that feed high-powered shredders. Each piece is broken down into small fragments, only a few millimeters wide. This step is essential to break the structure of hard plastic and make the next recycling stages easier. Inside Indonesian factories, shredding marks the moment when waste truly starts to gain new meaning. The resulting fragments pass through vibrating screens that remove impurities and separate particles by size. Recycled PVC, PET, and polycarbonate take on different colors and textures, making it easier to identify each type visually. The material then moves along conveyor belts into washing tanks, where oils, paints, and adhesive residues are removed. Cleaning must ensure that no substances interfere with the melting process later on. At this point, the production line starts to show its true efficiency and precision. Once the material is clean and sorted, samples are taken to the laboratory. Technicians check density, ideal melting temperature, and purity of each batch. If anything is outside the standard, the material is reprocessed. This strict quality control ensures that the final product meets safety standards and can be used to make recycled toys. Every step of this cycle is designed to minimize waste and make the most of every gram of collected plastic. When shredding is complete, the result is a large amount of colorful flakes that look like grains of rice. They are stored in silos, waiting for the next stage of the process: melting and purification. At this stage, the shredded material, once considered worthless, turns into a smooth and uniform mass ready to take on new shapes. What was once waste is now preparing to be reborn as a new product. With the shredded plastic flakes already separated, one of the most delicate stages of the entire process begins: melting. Large heated tanks receive the material, gradually increasing the temperature until it starts to melt. The goal is to turn solid fragments into a smooth, viscous, and uniform mass. Each type of plastic, whether recycled PVC, PET, or polycarbonate, requires a specific melting point. A small error of just a few degrees can compromise the final quality, which is why technicians constantly monitor every detail to ensure perfect precision. During heating, invisible impurities still present in the mixture begin to separate. The melted plastic passes through metal filters and fine meshes that trap unwanted particles, resulting in a cleaner and purer material. Controlling temperature, pressure, and viscosity is essential to ensure that the final product has the right strength and flexibility to be molded. What comes out of these tanks is already a valuable raw material, ready to be reused in new industrial creations. One of the main strengths of Indonesian factories is the total reuse of waste. The metallic chips removed from the credit cards, for example, are separated and sent to foundries, where they are reused to make electronic components. Nothing goes to waste. Even the steam released during the melting process is redirected to heating systems, saving energy and reducing emissions. It is a clear example of how environmental innovation and sustainability can work hand in hand inside a factory. At the end of this stage, the purified plastic is slowly cooled and cut into small pellets. These bright, colorful pellets are the heart of the next process: industrial molding. From them will come toys, parts, and products that were once part of urban waste. With every step, the material moves further away from being discarded and closer to its new purpose. With the purified plastic now transformed into small pellets, the most visual and fascinating moment of the entire journey begins: molding. The pellets are heated again until they become soft and flexible. Then they are injected into high-precision metal molds capable of forming almost any kind of object. Inside these machines, the material takes on new shapes, colors, and textures. Each mold defines the future of the plastic. Some become toy cars, others turn into dolls or building blocks. Temperature and pressure control are extremely precise. If the heat is too high, the material can deform. If it is too low, the mold will not fill completely. Technicians monitor the process in real time, adjusting parameters to make sure every piece comes out perfect. The colors are also carefully planned. Pigments made from recycled colored plastics are blended with the molten mass, creating bright, attractive tones that catch children's attention. This phase combines technology and creativity, resulting in recycled toys that are both visually appealing and environmentally friendly. After molding, the toys go through cooling and automatic demolding systems. Each piece is inspected, trimmed, and polished to remove edges or imperfections. Any piece that does not meet the quality standards returns to the beginning of the process to be melted and reused again. This closed-loop cycle reinforces the idea of a circular economy, where nothing is wasted and everything can be transformed. What was once garbage now gains life in the hands of people who work with dedication and purpose. When the process ends, the result is impressive. Toy cars, dolls, and colorful blocks pile up in boxes, ready for quality control. Each toy carries a story, It was made from discarded cards, broken plastics, and materials that once polluted the environment. And this is where the focus shifts once more. Because before reaching the stores, all these toys must go through rigorous safety and durability tests. Before any recycled toy reaches the shelves, it must go through a full series of tests. Inside Indonesian factories, there are laboratories dedicated exclusively to checking the strength, weight, and chemical composition of every piece. Technicians collect samples from different batches and analyze them for traces of metal or toxic substances. This stage requires patience and precision because children's safety depends on the quality of the recycled material. Each toy must prove that it is just as reliable as those made from virgin plastic. The tests begin by measuring the melting point of the recycled PVC and other polymers used in production. The pieces are then subjected to mechanical stress, including twisting and repeated drops. The goal is to simulate real-life use and ensure that the product does not break easily. In addition, samples are immersed in specific solutions to detect any possible contamination. This level of testing shows the recycling industry's commitment to international safety and quality standards. When a batch passes all tests, it receives a certification seal and moves on to the packaging area. If anything is not up to standard, the material is reprocessed and sent back into the production cycle. This constant reuse policy prevents waste and keeps the focus on sustainability. The result is an efficient production chain that balances environmental innovation and social responsibility. Nothing is done in a hurry. Every step plays an essential role in the larger goal of turning waste into safe, long-lasting products. When you see the care that goes into each inspection, it becomes clear that recycling hard plastics is about much more than physical transformation. It carries an ethical and environmental commitment that protects not only consumers but also the planet. And this commitment is what allows each toy to leave the factory ready to fulfill its true purpose, bringing joy and silently teaching the value of sustainability. Yet, the impact of this industry reaches far beyond the machines and the tests. It also changes lives outside the factory walls. The recycling of cards and hard plastics in Indonesia goes far beyond factories and melting tanks. It begins on the streets and within local communities, where entire families take part in collecting materials. Many of these workers depend on this income to support their households and see recycling as a way to turn effort into opportunity. Local cooperatives organize collection points and receive direct support from industries that purchase the materials for recycling. This model strengthens the circular economy and builds a bridge between environmental preservation and social progress. In several regions of the country, community programs were created to encourage recycling. Schools and neighborhood centers promote educational campaigns that teach children the importance of sorting waste and valuing recycled plastic. In some cities, residents can exchange bags of old cards or plastic caps for new toys made from the very same materials they helped collect. This exchange creates a sense of belonging and shows that sustainability can be lived in a practical, tangible way within each community. The factories also play a social role by offering formal jobs to people who once worked only in informal collection. With technical training and financial stability, these workers gain a new perspective on life. Many of them say they feel proud when they see the finished toys in stores, knowing they helped create something that improves lives and reduces pollution. The impact goes far beyond income generation. It builds awareness and inspires other sustainable initiatives. Over the years, plastic recycling in Indonesia has grown from a simple environmental solution into a tool for social transformation. Today, what comes out of these factories is not just a toy but a symbol of renewal. Each piece carries a part of the story of those who made it possible. And as communities continue to collect, learn, and reuse, the country builds a new path based on responsibility, creativity, and hope. But what truly makes these toys special lies in the details of color, texture, and imagination that emerge in the next stage. After all the technical processes, the moment of color is where the recycling industry reveals its most artistic side. The plastic flakes, once gray and lifeless, are mixed with pigments created from other recyclable materials. This combination forms a mosaic of tones, from the blue of old credit cards to the red and yellow of caps and containers. In large industrial mixers, the shades blend until they form a uniform base, ready for toy production. It is at this moment that recycled plastic starts to look like something entirely new. Color choices are not random. Each tone has a purpose, designed to evoke joy and spark children's imagination. Technicians and designers work together to create palettes that are visually striking and reinforce the ecological identity of the product. Green and blue are often used for educational toys, while red and yellow bring a playful energy to others. This stage blends technical skill and artistic sensitivity, showing that even an industrial process can carry creativity and emotion. The colorful flakes are melted again and turned into multicolored pellets. When injected into molds, they create natural gradient effects and unique blends of color. No two toys are exactly alike, and that has become a valued feature. What could have been seen as an imperfection is now a mark of authenticity. Each piece retains subtle traces of its original material, reminding us that recycled plastic has both a past and a new purpose. In the end, the result is a visual spectacle that contrasts sharply with the beginning of the journey. What started as waste now appears in vibrant forms, full of brightness and texture. It is proof that recycling is not just an industrial process, but also an act of creativity and reinvention. And before these toys reach the shelves, there is still one final detail that completes the cycle: the destination of the tiny metal fragments recovered throughout the process. During the recycling of cards and hard plastics, an essential part of the process involves handling the small metallic components found in chips and magnetic strips. These fragments may be tiny, but they are valuable because they contain metals such as copper, gold, and nickel. Inside Indonesian factories, magnetic systems and density separators isolate these residues with extreme precision. Every metallic particle is collected, stored, and sent to specialized smelting facilities. The goal is to ensure that nothing is lost and that every element returns to the production cycle. At the foundries, the metals are melted and purified so they can be reused in the manufacture of electronic products, cables, and industrial components. This process reduces the need for mining and helps preserve natural resources. It is a clear example of how the circular economy can turn even the smallest fragments of waste into valuable raw materials. Even the fine metallic dust generated during shredding is filtered and reused. The level of efficiency and material recovery reflects the Indonesian industry's strong commitment to sustainability. Handling these residues follows strict environmental safety standards. No metal is discarded without proper analysis, and all cleaning chemicals are treated before being released back into the environment. This shows that reuse goes far beyond financial interest, involving ecological responsibility as well. Local factories understand that every detail matters and that the success of recycling depends as much on human awareness as it does on technology. Once separated, purified, and reused, the metal leaves behind its old form and returns to the market as clean raw material. Meanwhile, in the same facilities, the molded plastic becomes finished toys ready to begin their journey. And it is at this meeting point between metal and plastic that the cycle comes full circle, ending a process that began with disposal and concludes with creation. Yet there is still one last step to close this story. A symbolic return of this material to the world, now in the form of joy and learning. After so many stages, the recycled plastic and recovered metals reach their final destination. Toys, colorful blocks, and educational pieces are carefully packaged and sent to stores, schools, and social projects. Each item carries a story of transformation. What was once a symbol of consumption and waste now represents creativity, learning, and environmental awareness. Inside these factories, the concept of recycling becomes more than a technical process. It becomes a lesson about renewal. The journey of these materials shows how innovation can change the way the world sees waste. When the first credit cards and broken plastics entered this system, no one imagined they could become something so meaningful. Reuse has become a real alternative to fight waste and inspire new production models. Today, the country is recognized as a global reference in the manufacturing of recycled toys, and its positive impact extends far beyond Indonesia's borders. When you see a child playing with a colorful toy car made from recycled plastic, you can sense the deeper meaning behind it. The shine on its surface reflects not only color, but also effort, technology, and responsibility. Each piece is proof that even the simplest waste can turn into something lasting when there is purpose behind it. It is a message that connects industry, environment, and society within one continuous cycle of learning and renewal. In the end, what this story reveals is more than just a manufacturing process. It is a portrait of human creativity and the power to reinvent what once seemed lost. The plastic that once polluted now teaches. The metal that was once discarded now generates value again. Indonesia shows the world that it is possible to turn problems into solutions and excess into hope. And as new materials arrive at the factories every day, the cycle continues, reminding us that every new beginning starts with the decision to reuse.